Hey everybody, this is Dave from Dave's E-Bikes, and this is the Kingbull jumpergo full suspension electric bike. If you're new to the channel, my name's Dave, and I review electric bikes and electric bike accessories from a larger rider's perspective. In case you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit chubby. I am 6 foot tall, 300 pounds. So I give you my perspective on electric bikes and electric bike accessories from a bigger guy's perspective. Mostly if I run into issues, you know that you're probably gonna run into the same issues. Now, if you're smaller than me, you may not run into the same exact issues, or you may run into some different issues, but I will show you my perspective from a larger rider. First and foremost, I have to tell you that Kingbull did send me the jumpergo for testing and review purposes, but all thoughts, opinions, and conclusions are my own. That being said, if you're interested in purchasing the Kingbull jumpergo based on any of my videos, feel free to click on the link in the description below or scan the QR code that will appear periodically throughout this video.
What's up, everybody? This is Dave. I just wanted to break in here for a minute to let you know that at the time of the release of this video, Kingbull is having a huge sale on the jumpergo. It will be the lowest price of the season. So if you're interested in this awesome bike, be sure to click on the link in the description below or scan the QR code and get a great price while you can. If you are watching this at a later date and do not get the great sale, click on the link in the description anyway, scan the QR code. It will give you the best price or sale that is happening at the time that you click on the link. But right now, there's a great sale going on, and I just want to let you guys know that you guys can save a ton of money, and make sure you use code Dave's E-Bikes as well at checkout. So thank you very much, and now back to the review.
So we're gonna break this video down into sections. We're gonna start out with the Kingbull jumpergo tech specs, then we'll get into the controls and how to use them. Then we'll give 3 positives and 3 negatives on the Kingbull jumpergo. And then finally, we'll give you my final thoughts and conclusions of the Kingbull jumpergo and who I think this bike is good for. So stick around, let's get to it. So before we jump into the tech specs, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent, but I will give you a little bit of a preview of what's coming. I actually think that this bike is awesome. So stick around, see the full review, and see why I think that this bike is awesome. But first, I'm gonna go off into a little bit of a tangent. It took me a lot to get to this point with this bike, to get to be able to film the video. Sometimes I think that when you see somebody doing a YouTube video review of a bike, that it's all just, hey, we get to ride these bikes around, we get to review a bike, we get to give our thoughts on the bikes. But to be honest with you, it's actually a lot of work, and this bike was a lot of work to get to this point. And the reason this bike was a lot of work is because when this bike came, it had an issue. You would power on the bike and there would be an I think it was an E16 error message or an E10 error message on this display. Now what that meant was I was unable to give any throttle. There was no pedal assistance whatsoever. It was almost as if the bike turned on but didn't actually work. You could ride it as a standard bike, but there was no motor assistance whatsoever with this bike. So I will say that Kingbull tech support was awesome. We troubleshot the issue. We went through disconnecting and reconnecting some of the cables to see what was going on. And at the end of the day, they ended up sending me parts to fix the problem. And as a matter of fact, they sent me a couple parts that I probably didn't need to fix the problem, but they also included the part that did fix the problem. Now, the part that fixed the problem was a cabling. Basically, all of the cables that attach to all of your display and everything like that, that's all in one like wiring harness, if you will, or wiring bundle. So that wiring bundle was the problem. We ended up replacing that and it worked. Here's the problem. In replacing that wiring bundle, I then messed up something with the brake assembly because I pulled the brake the cables from the brakes out, and it turns out they were the cables that work the brake light. So because I pulled them out the wrong way, I ended up having to replace the brake levers. So it's been a little bit to get to this point. Now, that being said, throughout all of this, I want you to know that Kingbull's tech support has been amazing, and that, listen, they understand everything that we're doing and everything that we're going on. Now, during that process, I also upgraded the controller. So there is a video, I'll attach a link to the description in my video playlist that will show you me upgrading the controller and testing it. So Kingbull has come out with some new controllers for these bikes, and in coming out with those new controllers, they're supposed to react a little better to the torque sensor, and they give you more speed, more power, things like that. So check out that video if you're interested in it, but it did also allow me to do that because I ran into some issues. To sum up this little tangent, I will tell you that Kingbull's tech support was great. They sent me parts. I had to wait for the parts, obviously, to come in to fix the bike, but once I did that, the bike was great, and the bike has been working awesome ever since. The reason I'm telling you this tangent is because I want you to be aware that not everything comes out of the factory perfect, and sometimes you're going to have to deal with these things. And in my case, this bike just took a little longer to deal with than most because of the fact that this is a very smooth looking bike where everything is sort of integrated into the frame. Now, because of that, that also means that all your wiring is integrated into the frame. So running new wiring, replacing wiring, all of that takes a little more time and effort. And it was a little bit of a little bit of a time consuming process. So, but I just want to give you that breakdown to let you know that at the end of the day, I really do think that this bike is awesome. Sometimes you get a bike, you build it, you do everything that the assembly instructions tell you to do, and the bike still doesn't work. And this is when you have to engage tech support. And that's a very big part of owning one of these mail order bikes is how good is the tech support? How good are you being assisted? And in my case, Kingbull was great. They sent me out the parts that I needed. We did troubleshoot a little bit. They figured out what they think was the problem, because they have to troubleshoot to figure out what they think is going to be the issue and what they can do to fix it. And so we did spend some time troubleshooting, but at the end of the day, they sent me out the parts, we replaced them, and everything was great. First and foremost, my favorite tech spec, the max payload of 450 pounds, which obviously means that a guy like me can ride this bike with no problem. On top of that 450 pounds, that back cargo rack actually holds 150 pounds. So if you have a very light friend, you could attach a seat to that and ride them around as well. It is a Bafang 750 watt hub motor that definitely gives you the power when you need it. Excuse the grass clippings on the wheels there, but nice Kenda 20-inch fat tires, so 20 by 4-inch on both the back and the front. We do have an 8-speed Shimano gearing system with a Shimano Altus derailleur. There's a 42-tooth Pro Wheel front crank. Not to jump too far ahead, but one of my 3 negatives about this bike is after you replace the controller, some of the higher speeds, you end up with a lot of ghost pedaling. And I think it's because of this 42-tooth crank. You could upgrade this to a slightly larger crank, other than the fact that that frame does bend in right down here. So it's possible to do something slightly bigger. But so as you can see, this is an all aluminum full suspension frame. It does have a DNM branded air spring hydraulic damping rebound adjustment shock. It's preload lockable. It does have 50 millimeters of travel, so if you do have an air shock pump, you can adjust this with the adjustment settings right there. I did find that out of the box. It was very, very good. You do have the Zoom Forgo suspension that does have 100 millimeters of travel. Now, there is no lockout or adjustment on this fork, but it is a very nice front shock. You do have a very large front headlamp that actually works very well at night, as well as a rear tail light that also functions as a brake light. No turn signals on this bike. You do have Tektro hydraulic brakes with 180 millimeter rotors on the back and the front of the bike. As you can see, you get plastic fenders on both the front and the back. BMX style handlebars actually make for a pretty comfortable ride. You also have I'm going to call it like a BMX style of seat. This is pretty much one of Kingbull's standard seats. It's a decently comfortable seat, but when you're riding and bouncing around here, the shocks take up everything. You really don't need to have the most comfortable seat in the world here, because to be honest with you, this is a very, very smooth and comfortable ride because of the full shocks. You do have a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery that is integrated into the frame. Now, as you can see, it is top mount, as opposed to a lot of these new frame styles are going bottom mount, meaning you can drop it out of the bottom. But this doesn't make it look too bad. As a matter of fact, overall, this bike, when I first saw this bike, it looks like it belongs in a foldable frame, but it really makes for a very comfortable ride and comfortable step through, because the step through is not very high there. But back to the battery, 20 amp hour battery. Kingbull says that they have Samsung cells in there. So the 20 amp hour battery, you can definitely get a much longer range on this Bafang 750 watt hub motor. Now they claim obviously somewhere in the vicinity of 80 miles of range, but when you put a 300-pound rider on there, and you are going anywhere that there are hills and anything that has slight bumps, and you're going more than pedal assist 1, you are not getting 80 miles. I definitely think that 30 miles is a very easy feat. You might even get 40 miles of range on this bike. This bike does have a torque sensor to work with the Bafang motor and the controller in there. And the torque sensor basically means, as opposed to a cadence sensor where you start pedaling and you get power, the torque sensor senses how much pressure you're putting behind the pedal. In other words, how much pressure you're putting into pedaling, and it will give assistance based on that. So as you're pedaling harder and faster, it will give you more assistance up to the maximum assistance that that pedal assist level can get you. Okay, now we are going to go over your controls on the bike. So we're going to start on the left side here. And basically you have your front brake lever. You have your controls with your light controls and your horn controls. This bike does have a horn. The brake light works even if the light is not on, but push that in and the light will be on. This is your controls for your control panel. As you can see, a very nice LED display that doesn't have a lot of glare. Now I still have the film protector on here, but it doesn't have a lot of glare, and it's pretty easy to see even with sunglasses on in the bright sun. At night it's great. The backlight and everything is amazing. On the right hand side over here, you have your 8-speed Shimano shifting. You use your finger to shift up to a higher gear and use your thumb back here to shift to a lower gear. You have your rear brake lever right here and a half grip twist throttle right here. And that is how you're going to get this bike moving. So to turn on your control display, you would hold down this power button here, and you essentially have a plus and a minus button. And the plus and minus is going to get you to, we'll see if we can turn that down a little bit. The plus and minus is going to get you to the different pedal assist levels. There's your pedal assist level. This up here is your speed. Now it can be changed from miles per hour to kilometers per hour in the settings. This is your information. In my case, it is the odometer. In order to change that information, you would hit the power button. And when I hit the power button, it then brings to our mile for this trip, your trip meter. You also have your battery voltage, time the bike has been on, or basically your trip time. Your amperage, your current amperage. So as you're riding, you can see how much amperage you're using as you're pedaling. And back to your odometer. Up here, we do have a battery indicator with bars. It does have 5 bars. It does not have a percentage, so you're going to have to get used to and figure out as you're going through what each bar means percentage-wise. But yeah, you'll get used to it after you ride a little bit. So basically you're going to hit the plus and the minus to add on to pedal assist levels. As you can see here, there are 5 pedal assist levels on this bike. And each pedal assist level will give you a pedal assistance up to a certain speed. So now this bike does have a torque sensor, meaning the harder you press on the pedals, the faster and more power the bike will give you. But it also means that each pedal assist level is sort of limited to how much power it's going to give you. Even if you're pedaling hard, you will get more speed out of it because your body is pedaling harder, but you won't get the assistance. You're only going to be limited to the assistance of the assistance level. Now that being said, this bike does have the twist throttle, and when the twist throttle is on, regardless of what pedal assist level you're in, This bike will go up to the maximum speed, whether it's locked in class 2, which would be 20 miles an hour, or unlocked in class 3, which gets to close to 30 miles an hour. You can get there with that throttle, with that twist throttle, regardless of what pedal assist level you're in. And those are your controls. Very simple, very easy. Okay, so let's talk about 3 positives about the Kingbull jumpergo. Positive number 1 is this full suspension. This thing takes bumps and off-roading like a champ. Now, I'm not saying that you should be going into some of those crazy dirt bike paths that you see, those mountain biking paths, but this thing can take bumps and bruises, if you will. Even just getting to this park where I'm filming this video, I had to go over some pretty big tree stumps. This thing just went right over it. No problem whatsoever. And that is because of this full suspension. The shock in the middle, the front forks, the suspension working together is great. Out of the box, I think that this air suspension shock in the middle is awesome. I didn't have to adjust the settings at all. I thought it was great. So my number 1 good thing about this bike is the way that this bike takes bumps and the way that this full suspension supports you while you're riding. All right, positive number 2 has to be that this bike is fast. This bike is a fast, fun ride. Now, some of that is because of the controller upgrade, which I did mention. You can see a video of the controller upgrade and what I thought about it. I'll put a link in the description below, or you may even get linked to it at the end of this video. But I will tell you that this bike is fast. Even with me, a 300-pound rider on this bike, when I opened it up with that new controller, I am getting close to 30 miles an hour. So to the point where I am not usually a 30-mile-an-hour bike rider. I ride a bike and I go 18 to 20 at the most. So this thing is fast, it's fun, and it's pretty comfortable. When you're going that fast, you almost don't even feel it. That's how comfortable the ride is. So positive number 2 about this bike is fast. So positive number 3, in my opinion, has to be that this is a good looking bike. I think that this bike looks good. The BMX handlebars, the integrated battery, it's a very smooth design. Normally, when I first unboxed this, I thought that they just tried to stick some stuff into a foldable frame. But really, using that foldable frame design is a great starting point because a lot of people love the design of the foldable frame. So I think that this bike looks awesome. It's a very comfortable fit when it comes to the design. So it's almost like you didn't cut corners when it came to the design just to make it look like this, because truthfully, I think it looks great. So positive number 3 has to be how good looking this bike is. All right, so now I'm gonna get into my 3 negatives about this bike. So negative number 1 and negative number 2 are going to be related a little bit, because I don't know necessarily that it was an issue prior to the controller upgrade. So negative number 1 has to be that at higher speeds on this bike, you do see a significant amount of ghost pedaling. And all that means is when you're hitting 23, 24 miles an hour and above, you end up getting ghost pedaling. Basically, you're pedaling, but there is no resistance whatsoever. And I really think it's because of how fast you're going at that point. So truth of the matter is, at that speed, all you're really doing is spinning your wheels. You're making sure that the pedals are moving in order to engage the motor, but the motor's really doing all the work. That's what ghost pedaling is. And unfortunately on this bike, after the controller upgrade, I think that there's a little more ghost pedaling at those higher speeds when you're in pedal assist 4, pedal assist 5. So in my opinion, after the controller upgrade, negative number 1 has to be the amount of ghost pedaling at the higher speeds. Now for me, that doesn't really bother me that much, because usually when I'm in higher speeds like that, I'm using the throttle only. When I do my normal rides, I'm going 18 to 20 miles an hour. There's still plenty of resistance at 18 and 20 miles an hour in pedal assist 2, pedal assist 3. Sorry, there's literally a bee who's just been buzzing around this whole time. So if you see him in the camera, that's my little buddy apparently. We're hanging out today filming this video. So negative number 1 has to be the amount of ghost pedaling after the upgrade. Negative number 2 is also related to the controller upgrade, and that is if you plan to upgrade the controller, it is the upgrade process itself, replacing the controller itself, is a bear. And the reason it is so difficult is because of this closed-in system. So the frame is a completely closed system, meaning everything is integrated into the frame. But that also means that getting to the controller is not easy. The controller is right here. And the problem with that is that getting there is a pain in the butt. So not only that, but you end up having to cut the cable ties on a whole bunch of cables down here to release those cables to be able to replace the controller. So check out that video if you're interested in seeing everything that we went through to try to get that controller replaced. But it was a difficult process. So, but negative number 2 has to be how difficult the controller upgrade was. Now, once it was done, listen, if you're looking for a fast, powerful bike, once you upgrade that controller, this bike it flies. It's really fast and really powerful. So I'm not saying don't do the controller upgrade. I'm just saying be prepared to spend a little time while you're doing that controller upgrade. So negative number 3 is it's not just a poke at Kingbull. A lot of companies are starting to do this, and I don't know why. So they included a derailleur guard. The problem is they didn't install it. So here's the issue. So for those who don't know, a derailleur guard, basically the derailleur is the system down here that attaches to the chain that helps the chain shift while you're shifting gears. It helps to make sure that that chain doesn't derail or come off while it's in the middle of shifting gears. So that's what the derailleur is. Usually on a lot of bikes, they put what's called a derailleur guard over it. They put a little piece of metal just in case you rub against something or lean against a curb, or as you're pedaling, you hit a stick or something like that. Most bikes come with them, and most bikes used to come with them already pre-installed when you pull your bike out of the box. There has been this trend of companies sending out the bikes without the derailleur guard installed. Now, the downside with that is when you get a bike and you pull it out of the box, 9 times out of 10, when you pull a bike out of the box, your rear wheel is already installed, meaning that it also is in perfect alignment with the brakes, with the chain, with the gears, everything like that. So you don't want to have to take off the hardware that holds on the wheel in order to put your derailleur guard on, because they didn't put it on at the factory. So this is not just for Kingbull, this is for other manufacturers as well. Put the derailleur guard on. Put a little piece of foam around it. You put so much foam in the shipping and stuff, you guys could afford to put that on so that we as the consumer don't have to put it on after the fact, and then all of a sudden now our brakes are misaligned and everything like that. So the negative number 3 is the derailleur guard. Companies need to put it on. All right, so final conclusions. What do I think of this Kingbull jumpergo? So final conclusions. What do I think of this Kingbull jumpergo, and who do I think that this is good for? Truthfully, I love this bike. This bike is good for anybody. This is a very simple to use, full suspension electric bike. Now, I know I said that there are many bikes that are good for a lot of different people, but this bike honestly works for almost everybody. I took my aunt. Now, I'm not going to tell you her age, but I will tell you that she is retired and she is of retirement age. I took my aunt, I put her on this bike, gave her a helmet, showed her how to use it, and within 5 minutes, she's riding around our campground. I'll include a little video of that in here. But she rode around our campground on this bike and she loved it. This bike was a very easy to use, very easy controls, and a very low step through. Seat goes down very low. This was a very good starter e-bike for somebody who's never ridden it before. She has ridden a bike before, but she got on this, cruised. And to be honest with you, that is the best part about this bike. Not only is this great for somebody who's riding hard, riding heavy, needs that full suspension, this bike is a good starter bike too for somebody who is, looking for something that's a little more step through. Maybe they can't get, their legs up around something with a step over bike, or even some of the step throughs that are a little higher. This bike is, because of that, I'll call it the foldable design that they have, even though this is not a folding bike, this bike is great. It's easy to step over. It's easy to get on. It's really easy to start riding. And that is, in my opinion, one of the best things about electric bikes, and that is going to make electric bikes more popular, is make them easier to use. Make it so that somebody who's ridden a regular bike with no motor a few times in their life can pop on one of these and ride. And that's, I think, the best part about this bike. So to be honest with you, I love this bike. This bike is great. Had some issues getting to this point now, but my final conclusions are, who is this bike good for? This bike is good for everybody. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're looking for a slim down, lightweight commuter bike, this is not your bike. But if you're looking for a good bike that out of the box is, you know, has full suspension. It's a very comfortable bike to ride. It's very easy to use. This is the bike for you. So to be honest with you, I think that this is a great bike, and this bike can really fit anybody's riding style and anybody's experience level. So if you are interested in this bike, feel free to click on the link in the description below, or you can scan the QR code that periodically shows throughout this video. So I'm Dave with Dave's E-Bikes, and this has been my full review of the Kingbull jumpergo. If you like this, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more review videos like this, and be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified anytime we put out a new video. So thank you for joining me for this review. I hope you enjoyed this content. I am Dave with Dave's E-Bikes. I'll see you next time, and until then, keep on pedaling.